Well, you can see that just the way she handles herself in the bar is a little different than the, have someone go through and she goes out for
Good evening and welcome to the special called meeting for November the 14th, 2023 of the City Commission. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Witt.
Here.
Commissioner Vowles.
Here.
Commissioner Thomas.
Here.
Commissioner Pruitt.
Here.
Mayor Staten.
Here. Before we open the public hearing, I'd like for Marie to read a brief statement about why we are here.
Rezoning number 1152 with a graphic development plan submitted by the City of Henderson and Henderson Distilling Company LLC for the property located in the City of Henderson at 0 North Water Street, parcel ID number 1-8-3-4, 422 North Water Street, parcel ID number 1-8-3-5, and 105th Street, parcel ID 1-8-3-6, containing approximately 2.16 acres. Applicants request a zoning change map amendment from Riverfront 2 to Central Business District with a graphic development plan to construct a small distillery in downtown Henderson.
All right. And so just a reminder for the City Commission, what we are hearing and deciding on is an appeal from the Planning Commission decision. The Planning Commission decision, I believe, was unanimous to allow for the rezoning to happen. And so we are going to hear arguments today in favor and possibly against the proposed approval of that rezoning. Also, just to lay a few ground rules before we get started, when I open the public hearing, that's when we'll start hearing comments from people who have showed up who would like to come before us. If each side could designate a main representative, then what we will ask for is we are going to hear from the people who are for the zoning request first. Their main representative would come up and present whatever you would like to present in favor of your side of the case. You will have as much time as you need to make that presentation. The main representative will. And then any subsequent people other than the main presenter will have a period of 3 minutes to offer their opinions on this matter. We have I think 15 or 16 people signed up to speak tonight. If you happen to be signed up to speak and you hear someone else say what you're thinking, you are welcome to still come up, but in lieu of saying the same exact thing, if you would just like to say, I agree with what that person said, then that would help keep moving things forward a little bit as we go through this process. So thank you everybody for showing up tonight. With that, I am going to open the public hearing and would like to ask for, and when you come up to the podium, please state your name. What else do we need to state? Name, address, and that's pretty much it, right? Just name and address? Thank you. Please state your name and address when you come up to the podium, and Marie will then swear you in, which is part of these particular proceedings. So will the side that is representing the case for approval of the rezoning, please have your main representative come to the podium.
Me's correct.
And before you get started, just a reminder of instruction to the City Commission too. Do not hold your questions. If you have questions, I know normally during public hearings, we wait until the public speaks and then we have comments at the end, and we'll do that. We'll have comments. But for this hearing, if you have questions of any of the presenters, please do ask as we go. Yes, sir. Will you state your name and your address for the record, please?
Andrew Powell, 710 North Main Street.
Can you raise your right hand? Marie.
Do you swear that the statements given shall be the truth to the best of your ability?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. My name's Andrew Powell, just said that. I know all of you, I think I've given this exact presentation to this group before. And we are so excited to be progressing to the stage we're at because things are really moving along well. What we're here today is just to discuss a zone change amendment. I'm sure you're aware the property that we've designated that we want to bring this to needs to be all moved into the same zone. Right now it's split down the middle. The east side is Central Business District, the west side is Riverfront. They've all got to be moved into the Central Business District because that's the only zone that allows a conditional use for a distillery. This process, we knew that this was part of the process the whole time. So that being what we're here for, I want to iterate exactly what we're excited about. We are going to be bringing, or we would like to bring, to Henderson a craft distillery to put Henderson back into a part of this storied Kentucky industry that's been absent for over 100 years. We are tremendously excited to be working with our partners with the city, economic development, Kentucky Economic Development Finance Administration, our investors, our neighbors, to build something that this community can latch onto and be proud of, that we can bring people from all over the state and country and maybe even the world to our beautiful little downtown to get our little slice of Americana. So we're wanting to build a craft distillery that's both thoroughly Kentucky but uniquely Henderson. We're looking to do something that really is a gem for our community, and we're excited about this opportunity. I want to talk a little bit about our project. Is our development plan available? Perfect. Perfect. You can see this is our development plan. This is how we would like to utilize this property. You'll notice all the red buildings are already in existence. So we're not raising anything. We're going to rehab and renovate all the buildings that are currently on the property. The blue building is the new construction. Originally, probably remember we discussed the building closest to Water Street right there. We wanted to put the distillery, the actual still house in that building, but that building was built in the 1890s and it's just structurally not going to be able to support what we want to do. So where the pole yard, laydown yard is now, will be the building where the actual still house is. And you'll see, you can kind of see it, there's a little blue cutout on the east side of that building. You see that little jutting out? That's going to be a higher eave height space because we're going to put in a 12-inch beautiful copper continuous column still that's going to have lights directed toward it and glass, so it's going to be a really beautiful statement piece for our campus. The visitor center is on Main Street. It's the large building. It's the large H building right closest to the railroad tracks if you're driving down Main Street. What we plan to do there is we're going to have tasting rooms, a cocktail bar, merchandise area, probably big enough for small venues, and we're also going to add little cocktail patio areas south of there that will really be a really nice place. And you'll be able to look out west, you'll see the still through those big windows, and then you look past the building to the Ohio River and the railroad bridge, and it's really going to be a nice sense of place for Henderson and people that come to visit the distillery. What we plan to do is bring, through our agreement with KEDFA, is we at least start out with 15 good paying jobs. A large component of what we're doing is tourism. So there's going to be a particular focus on the way our campus is presented, the way things look and how it's maintained and things like that. Because working with other groups, we expect, a pretty good amount of people to visit each year, and we're excited to bring them, show off our distillery, but also one of the main reasons we're putting the visitor center on Main Street is we want to funnel them downtown. Gosh, we've got such neat boutiques and restaurants, and just we're in this downtown renaissance, and we want to be a part of that. So the reason we're fronting on Main Street is to funnel people, because I'm sure y'all know this, part of our comprehensive plan is foot traffic and accentuating that, and that's what we're hoping to do as part of our designs. As the mayor stated, right now we're here for the zone change, and we went before the Planning Commission and they voted on this unanimously twice. And we're excited to be in front of you all and ask for your continued support so we can keep moving forward. This isn't the last stage of the governmental process for us, but we're excited to be walking through all this and making sure we're making all the right decisions and doing what's best for Henderson and our neighbors. And I've got quite a few people that have expressed an interest in speaking in support of the project, so I don't want to belabor anything. I just wanted to sort of lay out what we're doing for you all again. And, if questions or concerns get raised, I'm happy to come back up and respond to them as needed. We also have a couple of experts available to discuss if it gets above my pay grade. So I'm just happy to do whatever you need. But thanks for your time, and thanks for calling a special meeting, because we wanted, I think it's great that, if anybody has any concerns, it was appropriate to do it at a time where they could get here. So thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it.
So I do not have on the page who is going to speak in favor or who has concerns. So I'm going to read the names in order. If you are in favor of the project and I read your name, please come to the podium. Michael Urban. Please state your name and address for the record.
Michael Irvin, 11096 US Highway 41 South.
If you would, please raise your right hand.
Do you swear that the statements given shall be the truth to the best of your ability?
I do.
Thank you.
All right, sir.
I think we all know that the bourbon industry in the state of Kentucky is a $9 billion industry. Last year alone, the Kentucky Bourbon Trail reported that 2 million people came to our state just to see the Bourbon Trail. That does not include 500,000 people that visited the state's largest distillery and most popular distillery that's not part of the Bourbon Trail. That would be Buffalo Trace Distillery. It also does not include another 500,000 people who just visited the Kentucky Craft Distillery. So that's 3 million people that came to our state just because of an interest in bourbon. My wife Danielle and I moved to this state in part because of our love for the bourbon industry. And that is something that can be said for a lot of people who move to this state. We are opening a business downtown, a bourbon-themed bar called Captain Cork. We're going to be right on Water Street, and we could not be more excited to welcome this distillery to town, and we look forward to partnering with them. Jim Beam is known for saying, "Come as friends and leave as family." When you go to visit Jim Beam Distillery, the hospitality is bar none. They have some of the best food. They have some of the best drinks. It's not just about the distillate. It's not just about the science of how it's made. It's about the whole experience. And I don't think anyone does hospitality better than Henderson, Kentucky. We have the opportunity with this distillery to welcome people to our town, let them see the wonderful boutiques. I'll agree with Andrew as he said, see the restaurants, visit all this different stuff. This is an opportunity for us to funnel people off of I-69, off of 41, to our beautiful downtown. Right there's a new sign, I Heart Henderson. They can take a picture there, they can visit a distillery, they can come see Rodney. There's so many things that they'll be able to do if this distillery is downtown. If you move it out somewhere in the county, we might lose that. So I just think this is a tremendous opportunity to get possibly a couple million people to our town once this distillery makes a name for itself. I'm in tremendous support of this and hope it's something that passes through. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony, and also thank you for investing your money into the business here at Henderson. We appreciate having you as a business owner. Thank you. Ben Johnston.
Ben Johnston, 7732 Basket Cemetery Road.
Thank you, sir. If you would, raise your right hand.
Do you swear that the statements given shall be the truth to the best of your ability?
Absolutely do.
Thank you, sir.
Again, thank y'all for the opportunity to be in front. Mayor, as you're well aware, through economic development, we've worked really hard with neighbors, neighbor meeting, communicating redrafts of a document we feel like should put concerns to bed. I think we've made excellent progress. We'll let folks know this side talk more about that, but we've followed what's been asked to do of us. So thank you.
Ben, can I ask you a question, please? So I am aware of what you're speaking of, but do you mind to elaborate about the document itself and what you all have done there?
We have provided a document that would offer cleaning services if in fact there's any whiskey fungus for a period of time, just to try to ease concerns. While we feel it's not a concern, there's been, as we put ourselves in their shoes and look at from their perspective, okay, what if? And it's the what if document. If it is, we'll take care of it.
All right, sir.
Thank
you very much. Appreciate it. Greg Gibson.
Good evening, Greg Gibson, 330 North Water Street.
Can you raise your right hand, please? Thank you.
Do you swear that the statements given shall be the truth to the best of your ability?
I do. Thank you. I am a resident adjacent to this property and very much in favor of it. The only concern we have is the fungus that we have discussed that's in this document. So I'm going to relay that to Mr. Latta, my neighbor, to discuss in detail. Okay, thank you.
All right, sir. Thank you. And I am so sorry I cannot read your last name. And if you are speaking in favor, please come up. And if you want to reserve your testimony to speak with concerns, please wait. Victoria, and I'm not sure about the last name.
Givenchy, I'll wait.
Thank you, thank you. Next up, we have Jewel McClellan.
I'm speaking, not
Thank you, thank you. With concerns, correct?
with a concern.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. Missy Vanderpool.
Missy Vanderpool, 8018 Martin Road, Henderson, Kentucky.
Thank you, ma'am. Please raise your right hand.
Do you swear that the statements given shall be the truth to the best of your ability?
I do.
Thank you.
I'm just here to speak. We've spoken to you before for the distillery project. As Ben mentioned, there was a community meeting this week, actually the end of last week, to try to address those concerns. Henderson Economic Development did bring an expert via Zoom, Dr. Patrick Heist. For those of you that don't know Patrick Heist, he is a PhD in microbiology. We had him address those concerns and speak to them. And I'm happy to report we are a community that's working together to find a solution to make sure everyone's concerns are covered. As Andrew said and Mr. Irvin, we know that this will be a great thing for our community and have a great impact. And we're just happy about what the future holds. So if anybody has questions later, I'll address those at that time.
All right.
Thank you.
Ma'am, appreciate it. Hey, he wrote it in print at the side of it. Dick Bevan.
Mayor, I think everything that I was going to talk about's been covered.
Thank you, sir. Bill Latta, are you speaking with concern, sir?
With concern.
All right. Jim Davis.
No comment. Nothing.
You don't need to
address,
speak?
Either way.
All right, thank you, sir. Matt McCarroll.
Professor McCarroll is here to respond if there are any questions.
Okay, so no need to speak at the moment, but
Yes, sir.
in case needed. Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
I will put him on the reserve list. Kurt Hamilton.
Mr. Mayor, I am in favor, but I'd ask you to allow me to respond and rebuttal, if that's okay.
That will keep you on the reserve list, sir. Thank you. Kevin Bayer, is it Bayer, is that right?
I have nothing else to add to it, but I am in favor.
Thank you, sir. Let me just ask a question, because this is the first time we've done a hearing like this. Is it okay, Attorney Chris, is it okay when they address us from the audience, if they're not going to speak? Is that okay for the record, or do we, okay, I just want to make sure we don't have to have them walk all the way up. Chuck Stennett. Please state your name and your address, sir.
Chuck Stennett, 820 Center Street, Henderson.
All right, he already has his hand raised.
Do you swear that the statements given shall be the truth to the best of your ability?
I do.
Thank you, sir.
I'm speaking as a bourbon tourist, possibly a bourbon hyper-tourist. By my best estimate, I've visited 50 distilleries in 4 states, everything on the Kentucky Bourbon Trail, everything on the Kentucky Bourbon Craft Trail, and a lot of them repeatedly. I didn't keep count, but I probably have visited a distillery, actually toured a distillery 125, 150 times. So, and part of it is because I'm a little bit competitive. When I first started visiting distilleries, the Kentucky Distillers Association, a trade group that is the sponsor of the trademarked Kentucky Bourbon Trail, had a little passport that I think had 8 stops on it, and we flew through that one. Right now, there's over 50 stops on the Bourbon Trail and Craft Trail, and we've been to all of them. So when I say that, not because I'm any kind of expert, but just that bourbon enthusiasts we want to see these. We want to go to them. I've been to distilleries just in Kentucky, from Hopkinsville to up beyond Cincinnati. I just wanted to mention I printed a news release from the Kentucky Distillers Association where they were announcing that, to give you a sense of the scope of the interest in bourbon tourism, in February 2023, it announced, the KDA announced that the Bourbon Trail had attracted more than 2 million visitors for the first time in history. That was a 38% increase from 2019, which was pre-COVID. In the last 10 years, visitors to KDA distilleries has increased 370% in attendance. When we first started going to distilleries, you just pull up, walk in, get on tour, and you go. Now, I and the KDA itself recommends, if you want to visit a particular distillery, especially a big popular one, you better book weeks in advance because they sell out. 2.1 million visitors to the KDA distilleries. There's 52 of them, I believe. Most of them go to the big distilleries, the Maker's Mark, the Jim Beam's distilleries like that. But a third of them go to craft distilleries, like what the distillery here would be. Casey Jones down in Hopkinsville, I've probably stopped by 5 or 6 times alone. I've been to the Baird in Meadowbrook County a couple of times. But those craft distilleries attracted over 700,000. KDA President Eric Gregory, who's a Henderson native, by the way, and is largely credited with making the Bourbon Trail what it is today, says that KDA's research shows that bourbon tourists tend to be younger, spend between $400 and $1,200 on their trip, travel in large groups and stay longer than the average visitor to Kentucky. More than 70% of the KDA distillery visitors are from outside Kentucky, and nearly half have incomes for over $100,000. His quote was, "This is a home run demographic for local communities, generating valuable revenue and tax dollars." It's a very attractive demographic to attract, and I think that Henderson Distillery would get its share, since it would be the northwesternmost in the region. I think it could attract a lot of people from certainly Evansville, St. Louis, beyond. Anyway, those are my remarks.
Awesome. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Joe.
Gray Hodge.
Gray Hodge, 707 North Main Street.
If you don't mind to raise your right hand, sir. Thank you.
Excuse me. Do you swear that the statements given shall be the truth to the best of your ability?
I do.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor and council members, I'm here to speak on behalf and in favor of the distillery. My wife and I, Nancy, are Henderson natives. I have spent 65 years of my life at the corner of 7th and Main Streets. I'm a proud Hendersonian. Since the time we moved back in the early 90s, we've seen a tremendous change in Henderson and downtown Henderson, all for the betterment, we feel. We also believe that this distillery will be a major boon to the city of Henderson. In interest of transparency, we're investors in it, but that's how strongly we believe in it. We really want to see it be successful for Henderson and bring visitors and development into Henderson.
Thank you, and thank you for being willing to invest your own money in a
Yes.
project that could potentially be good for Henderson. Appreciate it. We are going to start with the folks who have concerns. It is, amongst yourselves, is there one person who might need to speak a little longer than the others?
I don't know that I'll speak any longer.
Thank you, sir. Bill, if you don't mind to...
I'm the appointed designee. How's
Yes,
that?
sir, yes, sir. If you don't mind to state your name and address for the...
Bill Latta, 334 North Water Street.
All right, he already has his hand raised.
Do you swear that the statements given shall be the truth to the best of your ability?
Yes, ma'am, I sure do.
Yes, sir.
So when the distillery, and I admire these people for their entrepreneurship and want to invest in our downtown, and I'm an entrepreneur myself. You know, people take risks, and I admire them for them, I respect them, what they're doing. My concern, which I brought up at the zoning meeting, was this whiskey fungus which normally goes along with the distilling and storage of whiskey barrels. It is evaporation, causes a black fungus to get on people's properties, but also signage, stop signs, trees, etc. They have told us many times that they think they've got that mitigated and to the best of their ability, but I guess my question has always been, what if it happens? Who is going to clean it up? So we have started working on a document back at the end of August, maybe 1st of September. I had one, and that didn't go over very well. But we have now a third, I guess, edition that I think covers most of the bases. I have not had it. I got the last print of it today at noon. I am growing more to like it, and they are answering my questions of what they've changed in it. So I am getting more comfortable with this document. But my concern, and the concern for my downtown, I'm a lifelong citizen, been here for 75 years. Don't look that old, do I?
Look good.
You don't look
You know you look
you're
good.
68.
But, concern for my downtown, and, if this black fungus was to happen to our downtown, what does that do to our community? But they have said they're going to take care of it on the properties. We're still working on the document and to be determined, I guess. There are others that have not read this document that are in this room right now as well. So,
Would you mind to explain from the best of your ability what you can recount as the specifics of the document?
well, I guess the main thing is they say they're going to clean it up.
Okay.
So, that's the biggest, there are some, I guess, stipulations and things some terms that have to, fall into place before they're going to do it. But they say that they will clean it up.
Okay.
So,
Is there a time limit on
well,
where it stops?
it stops after 15 years. But we haven't certainly totally agreed to it, but that's the term of what we have right now.
Is it accurate to say that you feel confident that you're headed in that direction toward forming that agreement?
Yes.
Yes?
I would be leaning 75% there,
Okay.
but I may have others that signed what was that? The form, not appeal, but it was what is that?
Just a request for hearing.
Yeah, request.
Yes.
That's the word
Yes.
I was looking for. That I have not discussed this with. We've all kind of discussed it together, but they have not seen this document either. Some of them are out of town, some of them are at work,
Yeah.
some of them are in court. So,
I think one thing that I find encouraging about your remarks is that you've been working with the folks who are wanting to bring in the distillery. It sounds like that you were able to get your issues out there and that you're working toward resolution.
and they are trying as well.
Okay.
So it's a total collaboration.
Great.
I met with one of them this morning at 6 o'clock.
Oh, great.
Yeah, he texted me at 4:30.
Yeah.
Want to know if I was ready to meet.
Yeah, yeah.
So I told him my dog wasn't awake yet. But we are working to try to get some resolution to this.
Yes.
But we signed that document because that resolution was not moving very fast.
Gotcha. But now it is, and the
It's-
language appears to be more favorable according to your.
Something that we can live with.
Thank
No, it's like any other document. There's no perfect.
Thank you.
And, there is no perfect, and there's some give and there's some take. But, yes, I think we're making great strides, and made great strides today, in the last couple of days.
Well, that's very encouraging.
And these people, they've had a neighborhood meeting and have heard concerns of others, and there's others that have different concerns. And some of them may share those with you all here today.
Sure.
But my main concern, and the main concern that I brought to the zoning group, was the black fungus.
Get on your phone.
And that's what, when I researched and read about being a neighbor to a distillery, that seemed to be the most prevalent one. And there's been many articles, and there's been many lawsuits on it. And I say, they are working hard to minimize it.
Great.
But it's the what if it does happen, and they're trying to cover this what if with this agreement.
Yes, sir. All right, well, thank you so much for your comments. We
Okay.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Ms. Victoria, if you'd like to come up. If you would, please state your name and address for the record.
Sure, Victoria Yavinci, 227 South Elm.
Thank you. If you would, raise your right hand. Thank you, ma'am.
Do you swear that the statements given shall be the truth to the best of your ability?
Yes. When we're looking at zoning changes, it's my understanding that you look at what's consistent with the adjoining usage. And my biggest concern is the water system, because during the distillation property, distillation procedures, heavy metals get in the water, and also nutrients can get in the water and cause algae blooms in the river. So my question is, who's going to clean the wastewater? Is it going into the Henderson sewer? Are we doing it? Are they going to apply for an EPA and do it themselves? And how is that going to be handled? Because it is a problem and it needs to be addressed before we proceed.
Since you asked a direct question, I'm going to ask Mr. Powell if you have someone who might be able to, someone here who might be able to answer that question, sir.
Actually, I think I can.
Okay, please come up.
And
If you would, state your name and address for the record again. You're not to be sworn back in.
Okay, Andrew Powell, 710 North Main.
Thank you, sir.
That's actually a good point in that when you have massive distilleries, you tend to have in your wastewater what they call high BODs, which suck the oxygen out of your water, which kills fish and things like that. And that's what Vinci's talking about. Two things to keep in mind. We won't be big enough to create that problem, but we're not ignoring it either. Our design has a solid separator, so we will not be flushing solids. We will have tests to know what our BOD count is, and we will work with the water utility, wastewater, it's Henderson's wastewater and water, same organization, to make sure that we are above board. And she's right. It's when you come to a distillery, the locals don't always get to make that determination. The EPA can get involved if they choose to. And everything we've designed with our engineering firm out of Lexington, Shrout Tate Wilson, we've got an absolute eye on that as far as making sure that anything we put down just the wastewater system is approved by the municipality and everyone to make sure that those BODs do not make it into open water and, starve fish or whatever the statement is. We're taking care of that. That is absolutely part of our plan.
Thank you. Does anyone have any follow-up questions for Andrew? Thank you, sir. Next up, we have, sorry.
May I ask one more question?
Sure, if you don't mind to come up.
Is that going to be an additional cost on the citizens if they have to clean the water of the materials that we're talking about, the heavy metals? Is that going to cost more do we know?
It's a good question. To be honest, I'm not personally prepared to answer that question tonight with certainty. Is there...
There's nobody for here from HW.
There's no one here from HWU to answer that question, but I will tell you, I don't mind to pose that question to HWU and have a representative of HWU reach out to you.
Do they have to have additional documentation in order to have the wastewater delivered directly to Henderson without, additional licensing or anything to have the wastewater go into the river?
Sound like discharge.
Yeah, no,
I can tell you HWU is going to be hyper vigilant about any new organization that's, dealing with a lot of water and making sure that it's appropriately treated. So, but I don't know what their exact plan would be for for you all. So,
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm so sorry that I'm ill-equipped to answer that directly, but we'll look into the questions that you asked and make sure we get answers to you. Next up, we have Ms. Jill McClellan.
Well, I want to start by saying everybody else has said how long they've lived here, how they love Henderson.
If you don't mind, state your name and address.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Joel McClellan, 625 North Main Street.
Thank you.
Do you swear that the statements given shall be the truth to the best of your ability?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, now I will say how much I love Henderson and how long I have lived here, because it seems like everybody's starting out that way. I have invested a lot in this community as far as the arts, and that's my bailiwick. But I do love it with all my heart. I bought a house in Lexington, sold the house, but I hadn't sold my house. And I'm so thankful because I plan to stay here. And I'm from Louisville, Kentucky at the East End. But my heart is here. It's just better. I wrote a letter that I wasn't planning tonight to read, but it has my concern in it, and it's just easier. This was written to Bill Fiddler. He was the person in charge of the meeting on Thursday night. I went not knowing anything about this distillery, and just I am all for the process of having something like this in the community. That's not, something that, I know the bourbon industry. I make Joel's bourbon balls. I do not drink bourbon. I do not like bourbon, but I make bourbon balls for my friends. I sell them. Jay Peddle sells them, and I have no problem against the bourbon industry. This letter is to state my concerns about the proposed bourbon distillery in Henderson, Kentucky. I did attend the meeting with other neighbors and property owners Thursday, November the 9th, 2023. It was my first time contemplating the actuality of a bourbon distillery in my neighborhood. Since that meeting, I have had time to observe the proposed location in reference to my home in 600, the block of 600 Main. These are my concerns. The location is 2 blocks from my home. The bourbon distillery will have a negative impact on my property value. Main Street, Henderson, Kentucky, especially North Main, is a prime property. The second, and this biggest concern of mine, the odor of the distillery is of great concern to me. I use both my front porch and my back porch as rooms for entertaining, especially my front porch. Being a stay-at-home person that enjoys my evening walks on the riverfront, then sitting on my porch to observe the moon, it is part of my life. I do not want to smell an odor of any kind. I'm talking about making my bourbon balls, so I will skip that part. I consider the odor of bourbon an invasion of my air quality. There has not been anything addressed about the odor. Bill said that night, no one has asked about the odor that I know of, maybe in another meeting that I wasn't in. But that is a definite concern because that odor is affecting our air quality, and it's affecting our value of resale of a home. It has to. No one wants to smell that. Bill said, oh, it'll be a good smell. It's not a good smell to me. I don't want to smell bourbon. I just want to enjoy the river, enjoy the moon as an artist, and I don't want to smell it. So I think that when you're building a new facility like this, that should be utmost. There are all kinds of regulations and rules in air quality now, and that should be a high priority. They're building something where it's being made. That can be, I would think, prevented from having an odor come out in that part of town. I mean, it's one of the nicest, you all take tour buses. Anytime tour buses, they go through our street, down Main Street. It's a given. So why, I mean, I'm for tourism. Tourism has to be that you've got clean, quality air.
I believe Commissioner Witt had a question. So,
Yeah, and I've never visited a distillery, so maybe it's just ignorance on my part, but is there an odor? Somebody speak to how strong that maybe is?
Oh,
but it
in
sounds like-
Louisville.
So
What does other distilleries do to try to perhaps prevent it, or what's the normal process? on that?
I'll tell you what we'll do is, and thank you for your comments. We appreciate it. We've got a couple of concerns that were raised, including the odor. And so, Andrew, if you have